have for a thrill. We have stories of the dead coming back
to life, tales of the
night evil.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
The All-American Spookshow.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the All-American Spookshow podcast. I'm Josh, and as always, I'm joined with my good friend Will.
Hola.
And the Professor Smoke.
Hey.
And today's episode is going to be a special one for a few different reasons. First and foremost, it's our 30th episode, so it's kind of a landmark episode, you know, in the, I guess people kind of celebrating fives, right, for whatever reason. So our 30th episode is a reason to celebrate that we've made it this long. So yay for us, right?
Hip hip hooray.
I can tell you're both overly excited.
We made it to 30 episodes.
Yeah, I figured 3 or 4, and then that would be, we'd be ready to
like, oh, well, we're done with this.
Yeah, we'd be ready to tell each other to fuck off and then be done with this forever. But no, we've made it for 30 episodes, so it's a modern miracle.
It's only every other episode that we tell each other that.
Yeah, and that's in the dark cuts left on the edit floor where we really tell each other what we feel.
Well, you know, I went back and listened to that. I've been actually going back and listening to some of all the earlier episodes because of a project I'm doing that I'll announce later for All American Spook Show. But yeah, that first episode was interesting. It was fun, you know, and just going back to the errors that popped up, like like when Willie had to go to the car, right? The door would open and you hear the ding, 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 and then the phone was dying, right?
Yeah.
It's been kind of interesting going back and listening to all that, all those episodes. I think I'm up to episode 8 or so. I'm having to go through all of them again just for this project. But
yeah, I did that back in October when we had our 1-year anniversary show, and then I kind of remember I kind of played a few clips from the first handful of episodes. Yeah, it was fun going back and listening to some of those early episodes. I'm not saying we're perfect now because we're far from it, but we've definitely found our groove, I think, and we've gotten a lot better over time.
Yeah, you can definitely tell listening to them like that consecutively, like when you listen to them, you know, one after the other, improvements that we made along the way or whatever.
Yeah, the audio.
And I got up to that Street Trash episode, and that was just still hilarious.
Yeah, I'm telling you, still, I think to this day, if that's not our best episode, it's one of them. I don't remember what number it is, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
7, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's fairly early on, but yeah, it's like...
that was just one of the last ones I just listened to, I think.
If you want to go look through the archives and find that episode, you won't regret it. That's a pretty good one. And also, as always, watch the movie because we spoil the hell out of it. You don't want to just listen to that without seeing it because that's definitely one movie you have to see. Yes. Regardless of what we describe, you have to go see it yourself.
Yeah, you got to put that on your movie bucket list.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's one of them. Barf bucket, life bucket, whatever.
Barf bucket list.
Yeah, it's on there. Also, today is special because we're going to be talking. It's one of the favorite movies of a lot of horror fans, but it's definitely one of our favorites for sure. I know it was at least on my top 13 list back when we did that in October. Remember the Halloween horror countdown we did on YouTube? Mm-hmm. I don't remember what number it was for me, but it was on the top 13 list. I can't remember whether it was for you guys. Yeah, this is definitely one of the top. I'd say on just about anybody's. It's got to be top 25 on just about anybody's list.
I might not have put it on that top 13 because I think on that one I was doing some that were my absolute favorites, but also some that maybe had got some mention or whatever. So, but if I were doing a favorite overall movie list, yeah, it would be up there. That's certainly in the top 20 for sure. We're,
of course, speaking of the original Friday the 13th, not one of the billion sequels or the reboot from what, it's probably been 10 years ago now, right? Give or take. I can't even remember what year that was. But yeah, the original Friday the 13th with what I believe was Kevin Bacon's first movie, right? Or one of his first movies.
Yeah, certainly one of his earliest credited roles. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's not an enormous part in it. I mean, he's just kind of like counselor number 3, you know, one of the first dudes to get the axe. But yeah. But yeah, it's credited for that, and and just the fact that it's the one that started one of the more profitable and famous horror franchises of all time. So we're going to be talking about that. This is one of the big ones. Like we haven't talked a lot about over our course of our 30 episodes. We haven't had a bunch of movies that are this high on so many people's lists, right? I mean, Suspiria maybe. maybe that first It, maybe a couple others that are like, high echelon horror movies, right? Not many.
Yeah. We've been covering a lot of bases right now, but we haven't really, touched too much on the top tier movies yet.
Yeah.
By the way, Bacon's first movie was National Lampoon's Animal House.
Oh, yeah. And he had a bigger role in that, for sure.
Yeah.
Than he did in this, but...
Yeah, it looks like this was his fourth role.
Okay. Well, either way, this is pretty early on, so he wasn't the star he became, later on down the road, for sure, by this point. And another reason to celebrate today is later on in this episode, we're going to have some special guests drop by. So if you want to stick around and, we're not going to tell you quite yet what's going to happen, but it's a little fun surprise a little bit later on. So make sure you stick around for, another 20 or 30 minutes here, and you'll see what the surprise is. So I guess, as usual, I'll go ahead and throw out the usual information. You can contact us through email at allamericanspookshow@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at @AASpookshow. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube by searching All American Spook Show. I'm a little behind the curve on posting up episodes on YouTube. I need to get back on that. You can find full episodes on there and some other content. Like I just mentioned, we did our top 13 favorite horror movies. We did a countdown like 13 days leading into Halloween last October in 2019. So if you want to go over to our YouTube page and check those out, that's there. We also have a TeePublic page where you can go on there, search All American Spook Show, and you can buy logoed merchandise like our older logo, our newer logo on T-shirts, mugs, magnets, all kinds of various things. And I also just got an email, like they didn't necessarily say when they're going to be selling them, but coming soon they're going to be selling face masks with our logo, with the show logo on there. So whenever those are available, I'll make sure to put out a note or anything, if anyone's interested in that with the old global pandemic going down. Maybe if you want to represent the Spook Show with a face mask, that'll be available on there sooner or later. I thought that was kind of funny. May have to throw down on that myself.
Yeah.
And we just started a new text club, so if you want to text the keyword Spook Show to 31996, so whenever we push stuff out on that, you'll be alerted to new episodes and anything else that's going on, like, whenever the face mask comes out or anything like that. I'll push out some text, and you'll be alerted right there on your phone. So if you're interested in that, text the word Spook Show to 31996, and you'll be entered in the Spook Show Text Club. I guess before we really get into the background, Will, what you been doing lately? You been watching anything interesting or doing anything worth a damn in the pandemic?
No. Can you elaborate for the podcast at least? Jesus Christ.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Fuck no.
Watching a bunch of kid stuff, with the children in the house. But I did finish Star Wars Clone Wars. The last season just wrapped up on the Disney Plus app, and man, that was really good. Like I think I called Josh to talk to him about it. Man, it was just it was a really good ending for a couple of characters that you followed pretty much all the way through that show.
And then I promptly told him to shut up because I'm only on season 2, so I got a long way to go before I can catch up to that.
Yeah. Well, I even got further to go because I haven't started it yet. And I need to.
I've never even heard of it.
What is this Clone Wars thing?
Yeah. What is this Star Wars you speak of? Smoke, what about you? Anything?
Actually, one thing.
Oh, sorry.
I started watching Ozark.
I watched the first episode of that a couple of weeks ago. It hooked me enough to keep going, but I think I need a few more episodes to know whether I'm really in it or not.
Yeah, it's good. It's just, shows like that, like me and my wife, I'm starting to know a little bit different in that respect, man. You give her, something that has multiple seasons that you can binge watch, man,
Yeah.
She will tear that stuff up. Me, I get about 2 episodes in, even if I like the show. It is time for literally anything else.
Yeah, I have a bad habit of that myself, like watching way too many different things all at once. I'll get 2, 3, 4 episodes into something, and then man, I want to go watch something else, and then I go start watching this, and then I need to go back and watch this, and now I got like 8 shows going at once.
Yeah, and remember how it used to be with it, just when you just watch regular TV. Like now we kind of used to streaming services where you can binge everything. But
Yeah.
when you didn't have all that, when you just watched regular TV, you were watching however many different shows. This episode, that episode, every week to week. But now I think with the streaming services, we get used to just binging it all in one time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there are plenty of shows that are a whole lot better. You just roll it off continuously.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But there are absolutely some shows that they need that,
You need that
week
week.
of anticipation. Anticipation.
Whereas like the Tiger King, you just want to watch that bitch all at once.
You need to find out some more about that bitch Carol Baskins real quick. Smoke, you been watching anything?
Mainly, we had a big move. We were moving one spot to another, so that took up a lot of our time. Before that, we got into watching. I started going back and watching the original Star Trek. Then I'd never seen the remastered version. You know how they kind of sweetened it up a little bit with the exterior shots of like the Enterprise and whatnot. And I think it actually did a much better job than George Lucas did with going back and fucking with Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know? They did it a bit more seamlessly, I guess. It fit. It didn't look like it was some, here's some really super new technology we were throwing in this old show.
Ironically, I've actually watched a couple episodes lately myself of the originals. Yeah. Like they put up the remastered ones on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What do you think of it as far as those remastered shots? I think pretty much every exterior shot was a remastered thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've watched. Yeah, it has to be because it looks really good.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember
like the planet, they show the planet before. It's just whatever they could do.
Yeah.
To get an effect of the Enterprise flying around the planet, orbit or whatever. Now it looks more realistic.
I don't remember it looking that good back in the day, so it's definitely been sweetened up for sure. It looks really good. I've only watched the first 3 or 4 episodes on there, but yeah, they definitely look really good.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at too.
Yeah.
We watched those first 3.
Oh, we watched that on Netflix. There's a series called Waco that just talks about the Branch Davidian, David Koresh stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been there for a little while, right?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure how long it's been on Netflix.
I started a while back and forgot about it. I need to get back and finish that one myself.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long it's been on Netflix, but I think it was like a show that came on the Paramount Network or something that I guess they got a hold of. Got a lot more time on our hands during all this virus stuff going on, so you got a little bit more free time in the evenings to catch up on some shows and movies and stuff like that. So especially on the weekends. Friday the 13th from the year of my birth, 1980. Matter of fact, this movie came out just a little less than a month before I was born.
Well, at least something happened good that year.
I think 1980 was actually, I didn't look up any list or anything like that, but I think 1980 was a pretty good year for horror movies. What, like this one?
The Shining?
Yeah, The Shining came out. There was a handful of others that I think did pretty well in the box office that year.
Debbie,
never mind.
Heavy
metal. That's what blew up in 1980. Horror movies and metal. And punk.
And me. So it was a good
and you.
It was a good fine year. So I guess we can go into a little bit of background on this. It was actually released May 9th, 1980 here in the U.S. It actually had a different title in the screenplay. The original screenplay for this movie wasn't titled Friday the 13th. It was titled A Long Night at Camp Blood. That one's more a little bit to the point though, right? It does like Friday the 13th. Like, this could be interesting. Who knows where this might lead? Let's watch. A Long Night at Camp Blood like pretty much explains the whole plot in one simple sentence. Yeah. I don't know if that one would have done as well.
Yeah, I don't think it. I really don't think it would have done financially as well as Friday the 13th. You see that and you're like, oh, yeah. Because it plays in on the whole holiday.
Yeah, and I'm sure
theme, which was just burgeoning at that time.
Yeah, because Halloween, in some of the reading I did on this, Halloween was a huge influence on this, obviously. So yeah. I'm sure they probably wanted just to capitalize on another holiday, kind of, but still use the same setting they wanted.
Yeah.
Well, Halloween and Porky's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. But it was released May 9th, 1980 by Georgetown Productions Incorporated, but it was distributed by Paramount Pictures in the United States and Warner Brothers Pictures internationally. What I found on that, and this is straight from Wikipedia, it said a bidding war over distribution rights to the film ensued in 1980 between Paramount Pictures, Warner Brothers, and United Artists. Paramount ultimately purchased domestic distribution rights for Friday the 13th for $1.5 million. Now, another thing that I found was that the budget for this movie was $550,000. So less than $500,000 to make this movie, which, if you sit down and watch it, shouldn't be, enormously surprising. I mean, it's not a big budget type of movie, right? But it ended up grossing worldwide damn near $60 million, $59.8 million. Domestically here in the U.S., it made $39.7 million. So clearly this is an enormous hit.
Yeah. And so that's no wonder that it's got 20,000 sequels now.
Yeah. One of the things that I found interesting about that was that fact that I think I saw somewhere like maybe to this day, but especially at the time, it's one of, if not the highest grossing independent. Probably there might be another one since then, but at least at the time, I think it was one of the highest grossing, or if not the highest grossing, independent film ever released, because it was independently made and then sold to Paramount and Warner Brothers for distribution.
And I think sometimes people forget that too, or the fact that they see Paramount logo on the beginning of it and they think it's this big. Oh, it's just your normal Hollywood movie, but it's definitely not.
No, I mean this was
this is independent as Evil Dead or anything.
Yeah,
else
this
like
is
that.
backyard budget type stuff, $550K. It just happened to have some pretty good people involved with it, which is why it turned out as good as it did. Best I can tell, now I guess maybe they didn't keep complete like box office stats, or at least not on most of the time we use the website Box Office Mojo, because it's a pretty trustworthy source as far as like box office numbers throughout time. I think they only go back to a certain time, and maybe they didn't keep up with it like as much as they do now, like every weekend and how long it's blah 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 and all that, right? But the first week it was out, it was number one in the box office, and it made $5.8 million opening weekend. Number two that week was Kramer versus Kramer, which had been out for quite some time, and it made $4.9 million. And then number three that week was a movie I've never heard of called The Nude Bomb. Either of you ever heard of it? The Nude Bomb?
Nude Bomb?
Yeah.
No. Was that as a comedy anthology thing?
I don't know, but it made $3.5 million that weekend. So there must have been something. Okay, I just clicked on it. It looks like something to do with Maxwell Smart. God,
okay.
What was that show called? It's
Get Smart.
Get Smart. I was thinking like Inspector Gadget, but that's what it was based on. But
missed it by that much.
That's the only ones that are listed for that particular weekend. Now, I'm sure there were other movies playing, and I'm sure there was a top 10 just like any other weekend. Oh, yeah. But for whatever reason, that particular weekend, there was only these three listed on Box Office Mojo, so that's all the information I have on that. It played in theaters 237 days, 33 weeks, so the better part of the year. Damn near the rest of the year, this thing played, I guess, in a handful of theaters across the U.S. So I'm sure that contributed to how much money it made. 33 weeks in the box office. It was a surprise
to everybody that it made that much.
Yeah.
So they just kept it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it was a huge surprise. I mean, it had to have been. Apparently, though, they put some money behind it. Like once Paramount got a hold of it, they really pushed it. They put a couple $1 million in papering and everything, pushing it out. Getting the word out that this was a thing. All right, so it was filmed in Hardwick, Blairstown, and Hope, New Jersey. So like these three towns are nearby each other in this area of New Jersey. Sometime around September of 1979. The camp scenes were shot on a working Boy Scout camp called Camp Nobi Bosco, which is located in Hardwick, New Jersey, and the camp is still standing and still operates as a summer camp.
Yeah, I also saw that they have like a wall dedicated to Friday the 13th with like a bunch of memorabilia.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they were only allowed to film it there after making a quote-unquote sizable donation to the Boy Scouts of America.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I would imagine, since it's still an operating camp, this probably isn't a place you can just go to and check out, right?
You would assume.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see anything on that, but I would imagine like you can't just ride up and say.
Yeah, I think you should just ride up with your hockey mask on and just kind of saunter through.
I saw somewhere too randomly for, I think it was like the 25th or the 30th anniversary, a handful of years back for this movie, that movie theater that you see toward the beginning of the movie, like you see like in this, dusty ass little, nothing happening town. There's a little small theater, probably like a 1 or 2 screen theater it's got a marquee out front. You see it briefly at the beginning of the movie. For like the 25th or the 30th anniversary, they screened the movie there. I guess it was the first time the movie had actually played in that theater.
Really?
Yeah, I guess it never played back during the original run. So like they made like a big thing out of it, and apparently like they had to add shows and everything, and they had to limit how many people, because so many people flocked to the town to go see it in this, this random small ass New Jersey town theater.
That's awesome. I mean, to see Friday the 13th in the town where it was shot in an old school theater still too.
So all right, so this movie was directed by Sean S. Cunningham. I guess we kind of could go down the dark side of this thing, how like the rights are tied up right now. I think it's kind of between Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller, right? Which
and how you were seeing Friday the 13th memorabilia and stuff out there, and now they kind of pull back, I think, right, until they get this thing worked out with the rights.
Yeah, I think basically, like, they can't do anything with the property. Like, I don't think anybody pretty much can, because a handful of years ago they had a video game. You know,
yeah, I have it, and I haven't even played it yet.
Oh yeah, it's fun. Well, I've actually played it. It's actually pretty fun. But apparently they had like the company that made it, which I can't recall right away. They had a whole slew of updates and stuff that they were going to add to it, and then like when all this lawsuit stuff went down, they had to shut it down, and now they're not updating the game anymore or anything. Like, I don't even think they fully support it anymore. It just kind of like what you see is what you get. That's it. You know, they're not going to add anything more to it. But that's between Sean Cunningham, who was the director and producer. Victor Miller is the writer. Apparently, it's got something to do with the right. Like, after so many years, the rights were supposed to revert back to one of the, I don't remember all the ins and outs of it. One or the other, and apparently it's been tied up in the courts ever since. Like, it's basically between the two. But the bad part is we're not going to see any more new stuff from the franchise because of this. But it was directed, like I said, and produced by Sean S. Cunningham. This would be like probably one of the main things he'd be known for, you know, other than
unless you watch porn.
What's porn?
Any of the Emmanuel movies?
No, I can't forget the names of them per se right now, but I mean, I know he was involved with that as a producer before Friday the 13th anyways.
I'm looking through his I'm not sure if he was a director or a producer on any of these movies, but in 1970, actually he was both. He was the director and producer on a movie called The Art of Marriage. It was a documentary. And then in 1971, a movie called Together. That kind of sounds pornish. I don't know for a fact, and I don't know if they list that kind of shit on IMDb, but
well, they do, but I think you gotta be signed in.
Yeah.
Like you can see even the hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
But you can't just go like Google IMDb and find it. You gotta go to the dark IMDb.
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 IMDb at night. You can see all the We can trace back the history of all the Emmanuel movies if we just sign in. But yeah, basically before this though, he had done The Last House on the Left. He was a producer on that. So I think that was kind of his one, you know, huge work before this, right? I mean, he had done a handful of other things, but I'd say that was probably the one that kind of put him on the map as far as horror is concerned.
You said handful.
Together. So yeah, basically just the Friday the 13th stuff, you know, he's been a producer on a lot of that in The Last House on the Left. Victor Miller is known for, once again, writing a lot of these, like he wrote this original movie, Jason X. He was one of the writers on the reboot from 2009, so that was 11 years ago, by the way. Apparently he'd also wrote a lot of episodes of All My Children, the ABC soap opera that's been on forever and a day. So that's where you would know him from, of course.
Oh, thank you.
I always got to make sure to get what you know in there. But yeah, basically a soap opera guy that just happened to write a bunch of these Friday the 13th movies. So go figure, right? Whatever the connection is there. And of course, Smoke alluded to it a minute ago. Tom Savini, who did a lot of the special effects in this movie and the stunts and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was hot. He was pretty much hot off the heels of Dawn of the Dead, and he'd done, for Romero and Romero's Martin. Definitely hot property at that time.
So Tom Savini, I'm looking on Wikipedia, this is where I found this. Tom Savini was hired to design the film's special effects based upon his work in George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. And that would have been, a year or two prior to that.
I think it was 2 years, yeah.
Yeah. Savini...
Or at least, I mean, when they went into production, they started shooting in 79, so hell, he probably just got off. Yeah, literally just
probably
finished doing...
Jump from one to the other.
Friday the 13th.
Savini's design contributions to this movie included crafting the effects of Marcy's axe wound to the face, the arrow penetrating Jack's throat, which that's the Kevin Bacon scene, and Mrs. Voorhees' decapitation by the machete, which is one of the big moments at the end. So those would be like the huge marks.
Spoiler alert! No.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
I haven't watched it yet. Oh no!
Oh, what the hell? See, those would be, and I'm sure plenty of other things throughout the movie, but those would be, I guess, the three biggest moments where Savini's contributions are clearly on the forefront there.
That you could tell his work from any other run of the mill effects guy going around the time was definitely that arrow through the throat thing, and I think they had to tone that back. I guess we'll get into that once we get into the movies.
Yeah. What else? I mean, good Lord, Tom Savini's had his hand in a ton of stuff. Like we said, Dawn of the Dead, Friday the 13th, From Dusk Till Dawn. He's
was,
actually got a pretty big part in that.
Yeah, as far as acting, that's actually what he really wanted to do, was acting more so than anything else.
Yeah.
And the effects just kind of came secondary because he was a huge fan of Lon Chaney. Of course, Lon Chaney being an actor, I think that was his initial dream, was to be able to do that, effects and acting equally.
He's also does a lot of stunts and stuff too, right? Like,
oh yeah,
kind of a stunt man too. Like, or at least back.
He got hurt on Dawn of the Dead. I know he did it. Remember the scene where because he's an actor in there, he plays Blade, one of the motorcycle gang guys that comes in at the end of Dawn of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And that scene where he gets off by or where he gets shot, and then he falls off the top floor of the mall, second floor, whatever, down to the first floor.
Yeah,
he did that, and all they had, I think, was some cardboard boxes and mattresses on top of cardboard boxes.
So that's
I'll do it.
That's always going to end well. Yeah, just as a makeup artist, I'll go through IMDb just a little bit back in his earlier days. This is just makeup artist, not acting or any of the stunts or anything. His credits include Deranged, Confessions of a Necrophile, Dead of Night, Martin, this movie, Maniac, Eyes of a Stranger, The Burning, The Prowler, Creepshow, which we've I don't recall which episode it was, but we have talked about that here on the Spook Show before. You can go back in the archives and find that. Alone in the Dark, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, Day of the Dead, Invasion USA, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, the music video, Twisted Sister, Come Out and Play.
Yeah.
Monkey Shines, Two Evil Eyes, one of Will's personal favorites, Blood-Sucking Pharaohs in Pittsburgh.
Who hasn't seen that, though? Come on.
Well, you're not alone there. My bad. Trauma, Killing Zoe, Necronomicon, Book of the Dead. The list goes on and on. So you can see this guy's imprint on the horror industry is pretty.
He's got his own school, or he has had his own school for a while now for teaching effects.
I think he still does. I think it's still a thing. Yeah,
he still does.
Yeah.
And attends conventions. All the time still.
Yeah, I think the last convention I went to, he was there, and I didn't get a chance to go meet him. He had a little bit of a line going, and we were about to leave or something like that, so I didn't get a chance to go meet him. But he's definitely one of those dudes I'd like to shake his hand for sure.
Yeah, he's been doing. Hell, I saw him at the first convention I ever went to, which was in 1992, Weekend of Horrors in LA. He was there, and then at the last convention I went to, which was before this whole pandemic, sometime I guess near the end of last year, he was at that one. So
yeah,
and quite a handful in between. Just about almost everyone I've been to, I think.
Yeah, he definitely gets around for sure to these conventions and stuff. So, but that's cool though. That he loves. He's done all he's done, and he still loves it enough to keep going to all these conventions. It's pretty cool, All right, so the movie stars Betsy Palmer as Mrs. Voorhees. I think it's like Pamela Voorhees, right? I think is her name. She's mostly like a character actor and stuff like that. She was in this, and then she was in Friday the 13th Part 2. Yeah, I believe she's been in a ton of soap operas like Knots Landing and ton of TV shows. On IMDb, her career, one of her first credits goes all the way back to 1951. So she's got decades of experience. And in her younger days, she was actually a fairly attractive lady, for sure. If you want to go back and check out some pictures of her from the 50s.
Back in the porn days of Sean. No,
yeah.
It was not in
Sean Cunningham. By then, I don't know if... But unfortunately, she passed away just basically almost exactly 5 years ago. She passed away May 29th, 2015. So rest in peace. She didn't do much, according to this. She did a handful of things after this movie, but not a lot. A great bulk of her credits came before this movie. It stars Adrienne King as Alice. She's the final girl, right? in the movie. The one, once again, spoiler alert, the one just hanging out in the boat. For some reason, her grand plan at the end of this is to get into a boat and just drift away into the middle
and drift away down around the lake, I guess.
Yeah,
not going too far.
Yeah, because it's a closed-off fucking scout or camp lake. Where's she going, right? I guess anywhere but there, I guess was the thought. Yeah. But this would basically be pretty much about the only thing you would know her from. She's still active today, although nothing major. Apparently, she did the first two Friday the 13th. She didn't have a lot before this, although she was uncredited in Saturday Night Fever and in Hair, so that's interesting. But before these two movies, not much, and really not much after that. Really, she didn't do anything again until 2010, 10 years ago. So I don't know what she did for the last 30 years, but
well, I know on a similar note as with Tom Savini, I don't know how long she was doing the convention circuit or not, but I saw her in 1992 at that Weekend of Horrors as well. I don't
Yes.
know if she was riding off of the Friday the 13th things and doing the conventions for a while or what.
I don't know how much she could have made off this first one. Probably not much. I'm sure she made a lot more off the second one.
Even though she wasn't even in it that much.
Yeah,
I mean,
true. But at least by
Yes,
then, she's a known. I'm sure there's more money involved by the time the second movie came along.
Oh yeah.
So maybe she made enough to go ahead and say, you know what, fuck this, I'm bowing out for a while. But apparently in 2010 though, she came back and did a movie called Psychic Experiment, and she's done a handful of things since then, like far more since 2010 than she did before and during Friday the 13th. So I guess she decided to dive all the way back in from whatever she was doing for the last 30 years or so. It also stars Janine Taylor as Marcy. She's one of the counselors that gets axed, which is pretty much everyone that we talk about from here on out. This is basically pretty much the only thing you know her from. I mean, literally, she has 2 acting credits. This and a TV movie a couple years later called The Royal Romance of Charles and Diana. That's it. So she must have been so enamored with it, she said, fuck this, I'm out. It stars Robbie Morgan as Annie, another one of the girl counselors there. She is, once again, she's still active, although, like, same deal. Like, she pretty much made a handful of things, made this movie, and then went away for, like, 30 plus years, and then they finally come back. She was in a movie called Me Natalie, then a movie called What's the Matter with Helen, then this, Friday the 13th, 9 years later, then a TV movie called Forbidden Love, and she was in an episode of The Fall Guy.
Oh, yeah.
Then a TV movie called I Married a Centerfold, and then just went away for 30 years. Apparently now she's been in a few things, a movie called Dutch Hollow, and some other things that are going to be coming out. So it's weird, like how there's a couple of these actresses that just like pretty much went away for 25, 30 years, and now all of a sudden they're doing stuff again. And of course, this little indie actor, a guy named Kevin Bacon, who plays the role Jack.
Now, if you could only connect him to other movie actors through movies,
I wonder why that became a thing. Like, why him? Like, why the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? Like, connecting him to every other person in Hollywood. Why was it him?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that was just.
I'm gonna guess the fact. I'm gonna guess the fact that he was in a ton of movies, and then I believe people probably just started playing the game in general. Just, hey, can you connect this person to that person using just movies? And they started realizing you can use Kevin Bacon for just about everything.
That's the truth. I mean, yeah, and it's rarely disproven that you can't. I mean, this dude's been in a ton of stuff, and
he's even in Street Trash. No,
according to IMDb, his credits go, believe it or not, go all the way back to 1951. He was in a well, now technically that's not true. It's a show called Search for Tomorrow. And in 1979, he was in an episode of this. But the show, I guess, goes back to 1951. Since he was born in 1958, so that'd be kind of hard to do, right? But basically, like we said earlier, his first movie role was National Lampoon's Animal House, in a movie called Starting Over, a TV movie called The Gift, a movie called Hero at Large, and then this, Friday the 13th. So I would imagine, like, between Animal House and then this, like, his star is kind of on the rise for sure. Within the next few years later, that he was in the soap opera Guiding Light. He was in that movie Diner. And then eventually his huge breakout role in 1984, Footloose. And then he's been in tons of other stuff since then. But I'd say Footloose is probably the one movie, if you didn't know any other movie, right? Footloose would be the one that you'd know Kevin Bacon from. If I recall Hollow Man being pretty good, though, right? It was kind of like The Invisible Man, right?
Yeah, didn't that have like Elizabeth Shue in it as well?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I think she was, yeah. It also stars Harry Crosby as Bill. He's another one of the counselors there that gets the axe. Once again, not many credits. Matter of fact, this is his first credit, Friday the 13th. He played in a couple other TV movies and an episode of a series in 1984 called Double Trouble. Never heard of it. And then a movie in 1989, then pretty much went away. So I guess he found something better to do with his life after that. Laurie Bartram as Brenda. Yeah, yet another, not many credits. Matter of fact, this was her last movie credit. She was in a couple episodes of the show Emergency back in the 70s. Uncredited role in The House of Seven Corpses, which we should talk about that. We should go down the House of Blank Corpses row of movie, because apparently there's at least another one.
Oh yeah,
the House of Blank Corpses.
Yeah, the House of this or that. Like,
yeah.
House by the Cemetery.
That should be our next series.
Last House on Dead End Street. Last House on the Left.
Yeah.
It's almost as prolific as the don't.
Yeah.
Don't go near the park. Don't answer the phone.
Oh yeah, don't answer the phone. What a piece of shit. That barely has anything to do with phones or answering phones. Anyway, she was in that soap opera Another World, and then her last credit was this movie, Friday the 13th. I don't know what she went on to do, but she passed away May 25th, 2007, at the age of 49. So rest in peace to Laurie Bartram. It also stars Mark Nelson as Ned. He's got a little bit more credits. I mean, he's still kicking around today. Mostly just TV movies, TV series, and stuff like that. Nothing really that you'd probably recognize him much from. Apparently he has a role. He's been in an episode recently of that show, The Good Wife. I think it comes on CBS. And a few episodes of Law and Order. So, just stuff like that. Peter Brower is Steve Christie. He's the guy that owns the camp that's trying to open it back up. That old wise decision to open this place back up. To open Camp Blood back up.
That's a good idea.
Apparently he's the money mark to open this thing back up. Once again, pretty much probably the only thing you'd know him from. I mean, he's been in a ton of TV series, soap operas. I'm really seeing the connection here, honestly, once you start diving into this, to soap operas. Because you've got, was it Victor Miller, who's a huge soap opera guy? And almost every one of these people have some connection to a damn soap opera. He probably just started cherry picking some random actors from episodes that he had written or something from some of these soap operas, because like this dude had been in As the World Turns, One Life to Live, All My Children. Like he's been in all of them.
Like you said, this was an indie film, so guys are going to go with what they know.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I can't blame them. I mean, and honestly, most of these, if you think about it, most of these are just stab fodder, anyways, right? So it's not like you needed somebody with like really good acting chops to get it over. So. Let's just take 8 people from soap operas and let's make this movie. Walt Gorney was the actor that played old Crazy Ralph, the guy that just keeps popping up.
Death curse.
Yeah, the guy that keeps popping up everywhere. You're all gonna die. You're all gonna die. He is mostly known from this. Apparently, he was in the Rodney Dangerfield movie Easy Money. He had a role in Trading Places. He's only got 13 acting credits, but he was fairly memorable in the ones that he got. Pretty much all in the 70s and 80s, because like his last credit, which was uncredited by the way, Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. He's the opening narrator. In that movie, which makes sense because of his connection to the early ones. But remember, if you recall, once again, spoiler, he dies in the second movie, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, once again, he passed away March 5th, 2004, at the age of 91. So he must have done some other things throughout his life. I mean, because to be that age and pretty much only in the 70s and 80s, he only had 13 acting credits, so he must have had a lot of other things that he did in his life other than acting. So yeah, I just figured I'd mention him before we move on. So and of course he appears maybe just a few seconds at the end, Jason, as a little boy.
As a boy.
Yeah, he was played by Ari Lehman, which this is pretty much the only thing you know. I mean, he's got 35 acting credits, but trust me, this is the only thing you would possibly know this guy from. But I just figured I'd add that since you do see Jason very briefly, at the end of the movie.
Well, we had mentioned about top grossing indie films earlier. It's not in the top 10 according to this article I found. The top 10 that I found, number 1 was Passion of the Christ, because that was financed by Mel Gibson. I'm just going to kind of run over the rest of them. Slumdog Millionaire, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Shakespeare in Love, Blair Witch Project, Juno, Good Will Hunting, Fahrenheit 9/11, Pulp Fiction, and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
All movies that came out well after this movie, so...
Oh, yeah, I guarantee you do the price adjustment on this, it's probably up there.
Well, that too, what I mean by that is like, that stands to reason what I said is that at the time, this might have been... Because it was almost, like Smoke said, it was almost unheard of for a movie like that, with a budget like that, to actually go on to make that much money, almost $60 million. So, especially at the time, because I believe it was one of the highest grossing movies, definitely one of the highest grossing movies of that year.
And it's definitely the sole reason for all the movies that followed, as far as, well, much to the chagrin of, I guess, all the censors or whatever you want to call it, all the people against for at the time. Like, it just opened that floodgates for slasher movies and more violent, I guess, since the box office for it was so huge. slashers just inundated everything.
Now, as far as horror franchises go, Friday the 13th is number 23 on the list. It comes in at $466.5 million. That's 12 movies, which means the average of each movie is $38.8 million. The highest grossing film of those 12 movies is Freddy vs. Jason. It made $114.9 million. But I believe...
And the most recent one?
No, the most recent one will be the reboot. I think that will be counted in the 12 movies.
Yeah.
But it didn't do as well as that, obviously. I mean, Freddy vs. Jason, that's by far, I think, probably more than any of the other movies made.
And that was simply, because of that standoff. You got your Freddy Jason stuff.
Now, right above that, as far as horror franchises, ironically, A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's number 22. It made, remember I said it made $466.5 million Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street films, 9 movies, made $508.4 million. And the highest grossing movie out of all those is A Nightmare on Elm Street. I believe it'd be I'm not sure if that's the first one or the reboot. It doesn't say.
I would hope it was the original.
I'm just thinking, just time-wise, 1984 to 2010, it makes more sense, But I would like to think so.
So much more.
Yeah, I would like to think so, but it could very well be the reboot. Because it doesn't specify which one, and they were called the same thing, so I'm not sure there. But yeah, it's just ironic the similarities between those two franchises, how they're right beside each other money-wise overall. And the top grossing movie in each one almost made the exact same amount of money, so it's kind of crazy. And then, like you said, the highest grossing one of the Jason is the one with Freddy in it, so go figure. Freddy's slightly more successful, although I do believe...
they were teasing that Freddy versus Jason standoff since Friday the 13th part, I don't know if they called it part 9. Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah. At the very end of it,
Freddy's hand comes up and grabs the mask.
Yeah.
So it had been a number of years that was kind of teased. And then, it came to be. And
then, once again, spoiler, Freddy versus Jason literally ends with a wink, right? Doesn't Jason Jason comes out of the water with Freddy's head,
and
then he opens up his eyes and winks. So that you really don't have a clear winner there between the two, right? Although myself, I've always been slightly more Jason guy than Freddy. I guess there is that conversation to be had, right? Like where you land. Yeah. Between the two,
where you stand at with your slasher killers.
Yeah.
and even what you consider to be a slasher. Some people wouldn't consider Texas Chainsaw Massacre to be a slasher type thing, or the first movie. And really, the first movie is not a slasher movie. I mean, it came more so probably in the second one, but yeah, depending on whether you consider Leatherface a slasher killer or not.
Yeah,
I think now most people do, but.
Okay, so I guess what we'll do here is we're going to introduce you to our special guest that we teased earlier in the show. We have 3 particular special guests. Will, I'll let you introduce your special guest.
It's the old ball and chain. Hey, Aaron.
Hi.
Hello, ball and chain.
Nice to meet you.
Professor, do you have a special guest with you?
I do, and my wife as well is joining us today on the show.
Hi.
Tiana.
Hello.
Hello.
And I have my special guest with me. My wife Stacy is on board. Say hello, Stacy.
Hi.
I almost sound like a baby crying for a second there.
Sorry.
Put the child down.
No babies in here.
Yeah. So we figured just kind of as a special little, something fun to do for Mother's Day, we'd have all of our wives on here to help us talk about the glory of Friday the 13th. We'll do what we normally do here. Will, I'll toss to you first, you and Aaron. Is this the first time? Aaron, I'm sure this is the first time you've seen this, right?
Actually, yeah. I thought that I had seen it. I guess I've seen one of the other Friday the 13th because it was my first time. I made Will watch it during the day with me so that I wouldn't be scared.
In the middle of the day with the light on.
That's an easy mistake to make since there's like 82 of these movies, so God knows which one you watched. And so that being said, what were your initial reactions? Don't necessarily tell us like your rating of it, just what were your initial reactions of it?
Well, even though I am a total pansy, I can handle 1980 horror flicks. The light being on was not needed. I did jump once, but only once, and that's pretty remarkable for me.
That is good. Will, what were your initial reactions? Now, this isn't the first time you've seen it, right?
Yeah, no, I've seen it before.
Yeah. So what do you think? Then and now.
Like back then, I'm sure I loved it. But like as far as this viewing, some of the 80s stuff, like you got to put it in historical context because now that so many things have come out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and have kind of been derived off of that, it's just not holding the light that it used to. I'm not saying that it wasn't good. It's just it doesn't put you on the edge of the seat like it did, you know, like 20 years ago.
Smoke, what about you? I know this is like probably the 142nd viewing of this movie for you. And
Amazingly enough, it's his first.
Yeah.
What?
You and Tiana, what do you?
No, it's you know, one of those. Well, yeah, you know, I'm probably the oldest of all of us here. So being born in the '70s and growing up in the early '80s as a kid is one of those movies that's kind of like an urban legend thing that, you know, you hear about it and then you finally see it. A lot of my, you know, personal horror movie history is wrapped up in this movie and others like it, like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, and all that. So I really can't put a number on how many times I've seen it, but or even the first time. I don't even remember when I first saw it. Probably HBO or one of the movie channels before I even, you know, saw it on tape or whatever. And I think I even saw one of the other Friday 13th before this one. I think I had already seen part 3 actually, and then part 2, and kind of went backwards to part 1. Every time I watch it, I still enjoy it. It's just one of those personal sort of benchmark horror movies for me, like Halloween and Texas Chainsaw. How about you, hon?
Well, yeah, I seen it when I was very young. Kind of grew up on horror.
You had a good raising then.
Yeah, yes.
So I take it you definitely enjoyed this one then.
Oh, yeah. I like the surprise endings they have.
That'll be interesting once we get into that. Before I get to you, Stacy, were any of y'all actually really surprised? I guess Aaron and Stacy are really the only ones that haven't watched this before. Were you really surprised by that at the end, or
When he comes out of the lake?
yeah?
Oh, yeah, that I jumped.
Yeah.
I guess in my mind, since the mom was the killer, that he wasn't going to be in that movie at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, like, how is she sleeping? Come on, the sun is out. And then I thought the movie was over, and then he came out of the water.
Well, it was a little bit of a rough night, though. I mean, I'd say it's not sleeping. It's more like just passed out.
Probably, yes. But it definitely got me at the end.
Stacy, what about you? I know this is the first time you watched it. What'd you think?
Well, I knew there was something with the lake, so, like, I wasn't really scared. It didn't really surprise me, I guess. It was more like, I kept thinking the entire movie, like, well, I know he's not dead because he comes back in the next movie, so where the heck is he at?
Now, if you knew anything about the history of these movies, you know that doesn't mean shit, but go ahead.
But yeah, that's what I was thinking the entire movie is like, well, I know, like, where is he going to come in at? That's where, the entire movie, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Even after we knew it was, like, the mom.
To step back a second, what were your initial reactions to it, though? I mean, did you enjoy it? Yay, no? I mean, was it what you expected?
I'm not a big horror fan, but
surprise.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, I guess that is about as a ringing of an endorsement as I can get out of you, so that's pretty good. Myself, I don't even remember I'm like Smoke. I don't remember the first time I watched this thing, and honestly, just like you, I might have watched some of the other ones before I watched the first one. There's a good chance. I mean, I remember being like 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that range, and watching these movies with my dad and my brother. So there's no telling when I watched this one, but I've always enjoyed it. You know, it kind of holds a special place. Not for no other reason than it's the one that started it. So, you know, it's always kind of been held in high regard for me, right? So, and then the interesting evolution of things, you know, in the second one and then eventually in the third one, you know, as you watch these as they go along. For you, the listeners of the All-American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. Will, we've talked about in the past, I know you use it quite a bit. Anything new you've been listening to lately?
We just got the Stephen King book, The Institution. I believe it came out last year, and it's been pretty good. I mean, we're probably about 5 hours into it, and it's been pretty good so far. My wife Erin's on today. What about you, Bev? How have you liked it?
I'm really enjoying it. I like that Will and I are listening to a book together because we don't usually read the same genre. So it's like we're having a little marital book club. But some of the books that I really enjoy are the Outlander series. I think I've listened to the last 4 books on Audible, and the narrator is fantastic, and I really enjoy them.
Do you ever really listen to any horror or thriller books or anything like that, or just stuff like that?
Oh, that's a big negative for me. I like romantic comedies and obviously time travel romances.
So that'll be the new spinoff of the Spook Show, is All-American Rom-Com.
Yeah, even watching Friday the 13th for this, that was a step out of my comfort zone for you guys. You're welcome.
Well, to download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/spookshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/spookshow for your free audiobook. So to let the ladies know, what we usually do here is we literally like go through the movie, because like this is a spoiler podcast, pretty much scene for scene. Although I won't go deep into it. It's not like I'm reading the script, but you get the point. Like we kind of go through it, and we comment when we want to, or if you got anything to add, you can interject. So the movie begins. You see like the outside of a summer camp, and then on the bottom it says Camp Crystal Lake, 1958. And there's a group of counselors in there singing their Kumbaya or whatever the hell they're singing. And then you realize that someone is creeping around in a kid's cabin. Like, there's kids asleep in the cabin, and there's someone's walking through, which is kind of cool. The point of view camera in this movie is done very well. Like the cinematography, in my opinion, is done very well in this movie. If you watch a lot of horror movies, it's usually not quite as good as this, especially back in those days. I think it has pretty high quality.
This is kind of like cliche, right? I mean, people say that and they think, it's cliche. The first person perspective is done, but back then it wasn't done nearly as much.
Yeah, this is probably one of the first big movies that really pulled it off well, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think. Didn't we? Well, we covered, what was it, Black Christmas? Didn't they do that? Did they do that on Black Christmas?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I said they bounced around a little bit with that, but
yeah,
the one that really sticks out with me is that one tracking shot in Street Trash, which was a couple of years later.
Then, of course, you go back to the counselors. They're singing Kumbaya, and then two of them just give each other the Iggy, and then they get up, get ready to go screw, right? So they go off and they find a barn, which, the funny part is, like, this is Camp Crystal Lake. Obviously, it's the same place, right? I don't think we ever see this barn again, right? Like, it's like a second-level barn that they go up into, right? Because they go up into the loft of something. But I don't think you ever see this spot.
Building when they reopen the camp or whatever.
Yeah, like you don't ever see this spot again. And I guess maybe that building got torn down or something. And it has been, I guess at this point, it'd be like 22 years later or something. But still, just one of those random things you see.
I'm sure when they're going through this, and you're just like, all right, these two kids got murdered up here. Let's just go ahead and burn it down.
Let's tear it down. And no one will ever open this camp again. Then the point of view camera, somebody goes up and finds them, and then without any kind of warning or anything or saying anything, he just stabs the dude. He falls over, blood instantly coming out of his mouth, and then kind of comes at the girl like she's kind of running away, and then eventually, I assume she grabs a hold of her, or the someone I should say grabs a hold of the girl counselor. But then it kind of like slow-mo freeze, fades to white. Then that's when you see the title, Friday the 13th, kind of comes at you like a 3D effect, and then it busts through the glass.
And then when we get to part 3, right, it's like it's 3D in the theater, and then that same logo comes to the screen, and I think it was an explosion, right?
Yeah.
And then that great 80s soundtrack.
Yeah, that unforgettable Harry Manfredini score, right?
Which I think we kind of neglected to mention earlier in the show. I don't think we really talked about him and the soundtrack or the score of this movie.
Oh yeah, I think that's got to be one of the most iconic sound that like mom, that echo sound effect that they put on there before every kill or whatever.
Mm-hmm. and their conscious decision to leave like no music at all until the killer is present.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if any of you guys like really noticed that as you're watching it, but like. There's no music playing, it's silence until the killer is around somewhere. Then you'll hear some type of music.
POV through the trees or something, then you hear music.
Yeah, not until the very end, once it's all kind of settled, and then there's a different music situation going on there. But so anyways, you see the title bust through the glass, and then you cut to the front of the camp, and it says, or I guess it's the front of the camp. I don't even remember what the hell you see, but on the bottom it says Friday, June 13th, the present. Actually, I think it's the town. Now that I think of it, I think it's like the little town nearby that you see, and it says Friday, June 13th, the present on the bottom. Then you're introduced to Annie, who's backpacking through the town, and you just kind of there's these long shots where you see the town and everything as she's walking through, and she goes into a diner, and she's like, she said, like, I'm looking for Camp Crystal Lake, and then they all pull the Pee Wee Herman, like, they all stop, drop their fork, and look at her, like, you know.
Yeah, everything except the jukebox goes. Although she did turn the volume down on the music.
Yeah, there should have been a record scratch or something, or a cat that just leaps out of nowhere and jumps out a window or something. You know, like, what?
Somebody in the background goes, "Oh shit!"
Pretty much, but eventually, like they're like, well, if you're going down there, old Johnny here, whatever the hell his name was, his truck driver, is like, he's going that way. He'll drop you off. All right. So she gets a ride to the camp.
One of the patrons in there, I think that's the first time you hear the Camp Blood reference, right? Because one of the women there in the camp, I can't remember which one, says, "Oh, you like Camp Blood?"
Oh, they're opening up Camp Blood, eh? So then they go outside, like, he's going to give her a ride. So they go outside, and then Crazy Ralph jumps out of nowhere. And he's spouting the gospel of, like, that camp has a death curse. You're all going to die. So this is the first time you see this fool. Then he's like, hey, get out of here, you crazy son of a bitch. He says something to her, like, God damn it, Ralph. And then, you know, he just kind of, like, scoots away, and then they get into the truck. Meanwhile, he's kind of being creepy to her, right? Like, all the rest of those counselors are as pretty as you.
Yeah, there's a big creeper factor in the movie. Not just him, but later on, some of the camp counselors.
So yeah, like, as they're driving towards the camp, he's kind of giving her the history. You know, like, yeah, there was a couple of counselors got killed up there like a year after a boy drowned, and the water was poisoned up there one time or something. You know, he's just kind of filling her in on what's been going on all these years. And he's like, my advice to you is just to quit. And then she's kind of snarky, like, you know, yeah, you're an American original or whatever, you know, they're going back and forth. He's like, fucking kids. So then he just drops her off at a cemetery.
I noticed that. I was like, wow, he didn't even take her to the camp.
Yeah.
He was like, this looks like a good drop-off spot. Out you go.
Now, the geography...
You're going to die, so here's where you're going to be.
Yeah. Good luck going to Camp Blood. Now, the geography of this is weird, like, throughout the movie, but, like, best I can tell is, like, all right, I'm just going to take you to the crossroads. So I guess that's where he dropped her off in front of that cemetery, right? But I think later on they say something like, that's like 10 miles away from the fucking camp. So I'm just going to drop you off on the side of the road, and you still got to walk 10 miles. So wherever this camp is, it's far away from anything else. I mean, they established that pretty well.
So I'm taking you to Camp Death. By the way, here's a 10-mile hike. I'm sure nothing will happen.
I just dropped you off to the cemetery, just giving you a shortcut. You just jump right in.
Yeah.
Shovel, you can go ahead and dig the hole.
Might as well.
You dumb kids. So now you're introduced to Ned, Marcy, and Jack. This is Jack is Kevin Bacon's character. For you ladies looking out for Kevin Bacon, right?
I was excited to see him.
A recognizable face in a sea of none. They're in a truck riding to the camp, and I love the country hoedown music they got playing.
Oh yeah.
It's like a cutaway from Dukes of Hazzard in this music they're playing. It's like
I was expecting the slow mo and then the thing to stop. Like, those boys got themselves in trouble.
Yeah. Let's see what them Duke boys is into now. Or like somebody like comes up from behind a bale of hay and you see the hee-haw donkey.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're traveling to the camp. So then, like, now they get to the camp and you're introduced to Steve Christie, who is the guy that like owns the camp and who's fixing it back up to open it. And he immediately puts them to work. Like, he's out fucking around with the
By
bottom.
the way, I looked it up. He's a brother of Chris Christie.
Well, they are in New Jersey, so it all makes sense.
See?
He immediately puts him to work. Like, no hello, hi, how you doing? My name is Steve. No, he's just like, get over here and help me now. Quick, this stump has to get out of the ground right now.
And then somebody
Once y'all help,
painting, somebody was going to do something else. He's like, no, I want you to do the painting. You do that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then they just like flop it over, flop the whole stump over, and then it's, oh, by the way, my name's Steve Christie, and now he's fine to do the introductions and everything after he's put them to work. And then you're introduced to Alice. She comes in, and of course there's like the really long shot of her, so you can establish like she's one of the heroines of the movie, right? Like, oh, by the way, this is Alice, and then it freezes on her for like 10 full seconds before anyone says anything else.
Subtlety.
So he's like, yeah, do this. He's pointing everybody in every direction. And then later on, Alice is like messing around with like a gutter. She's putting a gutter up on the side of like an overhang on front of a cabin. And then Steve comes up and just starts creeping on her. when she's basically telling him, yeah, this ain't my thing. I want to get out of here. He's like, no, just give me a little bit more time. And then he's stroking her face.
Time for what?
Yeah, he caresses her cheek.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking around another week. Mm.
I mean,
Well, I was
since
going to
we have
stay,
a
but now I'm getting the hell out of here like today.
Yeah.
since we have a bunch of women on the show, how often does that work? Like when somebody's creeping on you, they touch your face and everything's fine.
Oh, well, that was a quality
Never.
I always looked for in a camp director. I'm joking.
Well, look, it was a different time in 1980, all right?
Yeah.
It's like he's trying to convince her not to become a lesbian or something.
Yeah. Don't go over to the dark side just yet.
Just give me some more time.
You just need a little bit more Steve, that's all.
This haircut doesn't have to be your lifestyle.
Oh, yeah, that does fit with the haircut, doesn't it?
It did, yeah. But I'm surprised that she wasn't immediately turned on to him just because of his cut off, tight denim shorts with a belt.
You talking
And
about
boots too, right? He had like the ankle boots on.
Yes, he did.
his homemade jorts and his porn stash? Ah, yes. Steve Christie had it going on, ladies.
Or he had it, the neckerchief on.
Yeah, he's got the neckerchief.
Bandana
I mean,
neckerchief.
he was fine.
But it is weird that they like allude to like there's something he wants something to go on there, or maybe there has been something going on there, and then it's never brought up ever again throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
I guess it was too creepy, so let's just leave that one at the when they were putting up the gutters.
Yeah.
So now you're introduced to Bill, who's another one of the counselors there. He's like painting I guess it's like a watchtower for the lake or something. I guess is what the hell that is. I'm not sure what it is, but he's painting it. Alice comes along, asks him if he needs help or whatever, and so you're introduced to him. And then eventually, now you cut to Steve. He's like, all right, well, I've put you all to work. Now I'm getting out of here. He's leaving for supplies or something, but as it turns out, he's just down at the fucking diner eating for the last couple hours.
By the way, I just want to point out that dude ate an entire meal for less than $3.
Yes, $2.25, I think, to be exact.
Yes.
And then he still gets the change back from her. Cheap bastard.
No, he tipped.
Yeah, he tipped.
Keep
What did he keep the 75 cents? All right. Big spender, old creep boy is. So Steve leaves for supplies.
About 20%.
And
Or
then
whatever it was.
And then there's the scene where you're introduced to Brenda. She's out like on the archery range, like, you know, setting stuff up, and then all of a sudden the group asshole Ned, he shoots an arrow like, you know, 2 feet away from her as she's standing there like messing around with the little target.
See, at that point, I'm surprised there wasn't a murder right there. I would have yanked that shit right out of the target and chased that motherfucker down.
Oh no, man, he's just silly, old Ned. If there's
He
one,
does voices and commits near murder.
if there's one of these dudes,
He's no Shelley though. He's no Shelley. He didn't.
Well, true, I'll give you that.
Bullshit, and then still provide the iconic mask.
he
that
took
Jason Bourne
he
wore.
took he took it up a notch for sure, but it took 2 more movies.
Yeah.
But if there's anyone you wanted to see get it, it's Ned, and you don't see it happen.
Mhm.
Like he just goes into a cabin and then he's dead.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you notice too, like they never discover him, right? Like maybe that's something we could save for later on.
The camera reveals it, but yeah, they never.
Yeah, but like, you know, almost all the other ones like are revealed in some other weird way, like, you know, fall out of the tree, he's stuck to the door, you know, blah blah blah, thrown through a window. They don't worry about old stupid Ned. They just left his ass on a bunk.
No, he's just snoozing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a heavy sleeper.
While the bump and grind goes on.
Yeah.
Hell, he didn't even get any of that bump grind in the slash movie. Usually, have sex and die. He didn't get any of that.
He's really a sad.
Well,
he's really a sad case. I mean, you could go 30 minutes on the sad case of Ned. He was just a class clown.
This is sounding like a really good documentary.
Yeah, the tragedy of Ned. So then you see Annie again, the hitchhiker. She thumbs a ride from a Jeep. Now, at first you're like, this Jeep, it must be Steve, right? I mean, is that? Am I the only one that's kind of thinking that, like right out the gate?
No, I'm thinking that's exactly what I was saying to Tiana too. Because you see the Jeep and it's the same color basically, or at least close enough to where you put that together. I guess that's what they want you to
Yeah,
think.
obviously, yeah. Because they go out of their way not to show you who it is and everything like that, and the old point of view camera and everything, and the person's not responding.
And usually you would kind of think something's up when you're having this entire conversation with somebody and they're not talking back to you.
But there's also the fact that what's the name, left, Steve, they kind of like, he leaves, so then that also kind of plants something in your head. Oh, did he really leave,
exactly.
or
I
is he
mean, obviously that's what they're trying to do. It's a little sleight of hand there. Maybe she was a little off her rocker from eating shrooms from that 10-mile hike from where that dude left her at the cemetery.
Just taken.
Yeah. But so anyway, she gets in the Jeep and they're having this weird conversation, and then of course the Jeep keeps passing by the camp, and she's like, "Hey, I think it was back there. Stop." And then eventually she just jumps out and misses a fucking boulder on the side of the road by about a foot.
That's what I was saying too. Like the only boulder too, she kind of landed on it or missed it, except she hurt her leg. Right, I think her leg hit it. But the only boulder, rock, whatever you want to call it, was right
she's
there.
like right beside it. But then of course the Jeep stops and chases her through the woods, and then eventually the person catches up to her, and then she's up against a tree, and then just slits her throat. So Annie is the first death, really, like in this scenario at least. Like now there were 2 deaths, the camp counselors, right?
In the present time.
Yeah, 1958. But in present day, Annie is the first one that gets it.
And this might be a good time to mention too who watched which version. But I mean, I know Josh, you mentioned you watched the uncut version. I think we watched because we were in the middle of a move and all that stuff. We didn't even have our DVD player, Blu-ray player set up, so we watched it. I think on Amazon Prime. Pretty sure it was the uncut version.
Yeah,
but it was
Same
only
here.
like 11 seconds long, right? 11 seconds long.
Best I can tell, I think they said it was only 11 seconds longer.
And that first kill, that kill of Annie was one of the things that was like trimmed down. I think they had the throat slit in there, but then after it, the blood starts coming down. I think they cut that part out of the R-rated version.
They didn't really stick on it very. They just kind of you saw it happen and then cut away.
Quick, boom, then that's off of it.
Yeah, I'm sure that was probably to get the rating down just a tad, because they were uncomfortable with how long they were,
same thing coming up, and I'll mention it once we get to one of the other kills too.
So now you go back to the camp, and the counselors are out swimming, and Brenda kind of looks over across the lake, and she thinks she sees someone, but you don't really see anybody over there. But she keeps moving about her business. Dipshit Ned, he fakes his drowning for whatever reason. This is just randomly like, oh my god, I guess it's to cause like a scene of like, oh shit, something's happened to him, But it turns out, he was just fucking around. Oh, Ned, you're crazy. You're gonna die today. What? Nothing.
Man, I'm gonna get lucky. Whether I'm gonna fake my own drowning or what, I'm going to get lucky.
So then, after they swim, Alice is in there like taking a shower or whatever, and she's in the cabin and she finds a snake in the cabin. And then, of course, she yells for someone. Bill comes in, and then all the rest of the counselors come pouring in, and then it's like fucking watching Abbott and Costello trying to catch a snake. Everybody's just knocking shit over on purpose, like caving the bed in.
One thing's for sure too: if you're not sure if it's a poisonous snake or not, the best thing to do is to look under the bed where you can't even see it with your face right there.
Just wait for it to come up right into your grill. Then eventually, like, the snake comes out, and then Bill takes his machete that he's got, and he chops it up like he chops it 2 or 3 times.
By the way, that was a real snake in that. I looked it up.
Yeah.
It's a real snake. PETA wasn't around yet, so sit there and I guess complain.
You mean they just didn't exist yet, or like such things were just like, well, that's
that's
showbiz, so fuck it. That is awesome.
Well, now I'm sad.
Oh yeah, I forgot she loves animals.
Now you just ruined the movie, Will.
Snake, that's just un-American.
What the hell else are you supposed to do with a snake?
Let it be.
No. I can tell you right now, dear, if there's a snake in our house, it's dead.
Well, you can do
Now
like
you
me and my
know.
cousins.
Now you know I would not let you kill a snake in this house unless it's poisonous.
Why do you think I have a machete?
To chop things down.
And snakes.
Like snakes.
No.
Yeah, it looks like PETA was originated in 1980, March 22nd.
So this is the reason PETA was formed, is what you're telling me. They saw Friday the 13th and said, well, we got to do something about this.
That movie was good, but there was this one part that was really fucked up.
I really like that snake.
When he shoved the arrow through her throat. No. When they killed a real snake.
The only thing I can say is like it did look like a black snake, which I think are fairly harmless. So that was kind of.
See, that's what I'm talking about. They didn't need to kill that snake.
Yeah, well.
Well, the other thing that I found out about this scene was this originally wasn't in the movie, like in the scripted version of the movie. Yeah. The effects guy. He had a instance while filming that he like ran into a snake. And they decided to try to throw it into the movie.
You mean he just found it around the camp and just threw it in the cabin?
No. I think he was like messing around the campsite and came across the snake and was, I guess, freaked out.
As one would be, like freaked out to the point where you would chop it up with a machete, because that's what normal people do.
Josh.
Hey, look.
As y'all can tell, when we find things in our house, I release them out into the wild.
Yeah.
Josh does not.
Thankfully, we haven't found a snake yet, then, because I hate to break it to you, that's gonna end badly for old Snake.
We found a mouse once. I released it back out into the wild. Josh.
Except for that one that didn't, and it died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Natural causes.
Yeah.
By the way, PETA, when you listen to this, that's Josh.
Josh didn't.
He lives at
Not his wife. Don't assume the whole household. Not his wife.
He lives at 123 Main Street, Anytown, USA.
555.
Yeah.
Right by Camp Crystal Lake.
You can call him at Klondike 9. All right. So, anyways, a motorcycle.
75309. No, don't call that. That's a real number, probably.
So right after the snake clown show, a motorcycle cop just shows up. Dipshit Ned comes running out, dressed like an Indian. Well, not necessarily dressed like an Indian. He's got an Indian headdress on, and he's wearing like a shirt as he's wearing a shirt as a diaper, and he's going.
Right as the cop drives up, who is like going there to bust some people smoking dope is what he thinks, and then Ned comes out and hits him with
Where are you holding the grass?
It was like he had an honest reaction in that. It's just shit.
I'll give him that. That was pretty good. So apparently the cop has showed up there because he's looking for Crazy Ralph. Apparently they've got word that he's been out this way preaching his wacky gospel. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out. So then you see Alice. She's cleaning up inside the kitchen area there, or the kitchen cabin, whatever the hell it is, the mess hall. She opens up the pantry, and Ralph's standing there. You're all doomed. Place has a death curse. God damn it, Ralph!
Now, if this was a different type of movie, I would assume Ralph would probably have his pants down around his knees.
You're thinking more Meatballs than you are Friday the 13th. But then he just like kind of scurries out and then gets on his bike, and you watch this fool ride his bicycle all the way down the path. Like, we need to add time to this movie. How do we do it? Oh, let's watch him go all the way down the bike path.
That's for the second time that we've seen him get on the bike and ride.
Yeah.
First time was from the diner.
The thing that stood out to me about that scene and others, actually, I startle really easily. Mm-hmm. And when she opens the pantry and the wackadoodle is standing there,
the wackadoodle,
like her scream, ah! I was like, well.
Well, it would scare the shit out of you.
I mean, step out of the bathroom, and I light up louder than that.
Well, that's Stacy too. She can know I'm in the room. I'm like, hey.
Yes, I do the same thing.
Oh my God. I think the worst person on earth is Stacy. I've stood on the other side of a car when she didn't know I was there, and she screamed like a full-grown man.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that they need to invest. I mean, if we could go back to 1980 in hiring, I don't know, like a screamer for these ladies, because they are very polite victims. And they could,
well, only
use a little more volume.
Well, only one person in this entire movie puts up any kind of fight and is easily able to defeat her. So, yeah. If any of them put up any kind of effort, this thing would have been over long before a massacre had happened.
Yeah, I mean, forget the fact that at the beginning there were two people that could have fought her, but whatever.
Yeah. No, they were too busy just freaking out and running for their lives to actually stop her.
Oh God, you're gonna stab me. I got something I can stab you with.
Well, there's another one coming up that's like that too. Crazy Ralph checks out, and then 5 minutes later, after you watch him go down the bike path, it's like late at or like evening now, like late dusk. It's almost nighttime, and they're in there like about to make dinner, and then the power goes out. So then they all go, or a couple of them go to they start the generator. Ned is kind of lonely boying it over there, like he doesn't have anybody to love him. So he's just kind of skipping down the path by himself. And then he sees someone enter one of the cabins, and he kind of like, hey, can I help you? And then he goes in, and you don't see anything happen.
Never to be seen again.
Well, you see him again, but that's the last breathing moments of old Ned. So then, like right after this, like after Ned disappears into the cabin, Marcy and Jack come walking along the same path. And then she tells him about this weird dream she had, like where it's raining blood. It's some deep shit just out of nowhere. Oh, by the way,
and then Slayer said, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
You said it. I was about to.
raining blood.
Cue the thunder.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to cue the song right here. Bam, raining blood.
Yeah.
By the way, girls, that's the name of a song.
Thanks.
I never know the names of songs.
Yeah, well, you probably thought the name of the song was like "Blaming Hood" or something like that.
What?
So, anyways, so Marcy tells Jack of this weird raining blood dream that she has, and like, then right at that moment, like the storm rolls in, so they go run into a cabin and immediately start having the sex.
The sex. The sex.
Like usually in these movies, like it's like a slow build up of like kissing and everything.
Nah.
Let's just go ahead and drop trowel.
Kevin Bacon was worked up from that raining blood dream, so they just got right to it. So yeah, they're as they're doing that, Alice, Bill, and Brenda are in another cabin, and they decide to play Strip Monopoly.
Strip Monopoly.
Yeah. Everybody loves to play an old rousing game of Strip Monopoly.
Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, 3 hours later, first thing finally comes off. Like, all right, you landed on Park Street.
Yeah.
Finally.
Shit, here's a boot.
Yeah, shoot.
All that 5 hours of play leading up to a boot.
Nobody ever lands on Baltic Avenue.
So meanwhile,
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Nobody ever finishes Monopoly.
No, and they didn't either. So they're playing their game of Monopoly.
Door open.
At the same time, Marcy and Jack are having the sex. It pans up to the top bunk, and Ned's bloody dead body is up on the top. But they don't see this. Obviously, they're too busy doing their thing. So then, like, they finish up, and Marcy goes to the bathroom, which the bathroom is not in the next room. It's like 5 cabins over. So she's got to hightail it in the storm to go to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Jack, I think he like leans over to like strike up a cigarette, and as he's laying on the bottom bunk, a arrow comes from underneath the bed and stabs him straight through the throat. And it kind of holds it on there a second too, like you see it come through and then twist as he's just.
Oh yeah.
And I guess that's where you were talking about, like the uncut version stayed on that a little longer. Smoke.
Yeah, I think you don't see the blood. You see the arrow go through, the flesh and pierce it, and then the little bit of pool of blood right there, but you don't see that big jet of blood. That final little whatever blood squib shot. They excise that part out, but definitely an effective makeup effect from Savini. You feel that pain, you feel that arrow, like ow, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's toast. It's a fancy arrow too. It's like Rambo style arrow. It's like one of those razor tip motherfuckers.
You average kind of camp.
No.
Arrow. That's like bear's arrow.
Summer camp arrow would be like one of those little blunt ends, like round, Not like fucking Rambo's long distance razor arrow. So then Marcy's in the bathroom, and someone comes into the bathroom while she's there, but she doesn't. She hears something. And she's kind of looking around. Then she goes over to the showers, and then she doesn't see anything when she opens it up, but then she turns around just in time to get brained with an axe right across the face, like or top of the head across the face. But this is what I was talking about, how like she has enough time to like, oh shit, someone has an axe. Ah! Like, wouldn't you just run or fight back or anything? No, she just stands there and takes an axe to the face. So then you cut back.
Ew.
Another good Savini effect.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, at least she didn't stand there and say, "Oh no." Help. Help.
Please, God, help me
Is that you, Ralph?
in my time of need. So then the strip Monopoly game ends when like the door blows open or something, and Brenda realizes like she left her window open in her cabin. So that's it for that. So then this is when you see Steve in the diner, like this whole like 5-minute scene of like him just having like a casual conversation with this diner lady, where he pays $2.25 for his meal, and then heads on out.
And then she hits on him.
Yeah.
The diner lady.
What do I owe you? Good night on the town. No, for real.
And tell him, large Marge sent you.
So then he heads out of the diner there, and it's storming outside still. So then you come back to the camp, and Brenda is in the same bathroom where the murder just took place, but she doesn't see anything. Someone's in the shower, but she doesn't see this when like the hand comes and like kind of pulls the shower curtain. She doesn't see it, and then just heads out. Then you come back to Steve, and somewhere since he left the diner, his fucking Jeep is just broke down on the side of the road. It says something like to the effect that it's stuck, but he also can't get it to crank. Like he can't get it to turn over either, right? It's just whatever the hell happened there. I don't know. There's the untold story of Steve
It's
Jeep.
not moving.
It's not moving. It's stuck.
Yeah, because then a cop comes along like right at that moment. He gets into the car with the cop. He'll give him a ride back to the camp. So then you come back to the camp. Brenda is lying in bed. Like there's this long scene of like her getting ready for bed and everything. And she lays down to read a book. And then she hears someone.
Hold on. This part right here. Aaron pointed out. I didn't even catch it when we were watching the movie. So she goes to the bathhouse.
Yeah.
What does she go to do in there? She
brush her teeth or
washing
something.
up, right? Brush her teeth.
Yeah.
But then you flash forward to her going into her bunk.
Mm-hmm.
And what's framed perfectly in the shot?
A sink?
A fucking sink.
You and you're putting too much thought into these things. Stop it. We're not here to poke holes in Friday the 13th, all right? We're here to enjoy it for what it was.
Are we?
Well, anyways. So yeah, Brenda's getting ready for bed. She lays down, starts reading her book, and then she hears someone yell for help outside, and it sounds like a little kid, really, like, help me, I'm over here.
Turns out it was Mickey Mouse.
So she just like she doesn't get her coat or anything. She just walks out into the rain like in her pajamas, like to find out what's going on, and eventually leads her down to like the archery range. And as she's standing out like in the middle of the range, the lights come on. But then this has got to be one of the most cheap-ass cop-outs in horror movie history. You don't see anything happen. It just cuts away, and then you hear her scream,
Yeah.
It cuts back to the cabin, then you hear her scream. Like, I'm fully expecting, like, somebody to catch an arrow in the head here, but...
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen there, too, the first time I saw that.
Yeah. I mean,
they were alluding to it earlier, with the
they were setting it up.
From Ned, Yeah.
And it would have been gruesome, too, because they got some hellacious arrows at this camp.
Yeah, they do.
But no, you don't see it happen. You just, cut to the cabin, hear her scream in the distance.
Chance they got the Rambo arrow that they shoot at her and it explodes.
Yeah. The bomb tip arrows.
I wouldn't doubt it. That's something. All right, kids, line up.
That would be awesome.
Exploding arrow tips today.
Whoosh! Oh my God!
That blew up real good.
So then, this is basically right at the time that Alice and Bill realize there's some weird shit going on because they haven't seen anybody for a while. So they go to look for Brenda. They go to her cabin. It's empty, but then they find a bloody axe in her bed. Now they're not
on the pillow, like nestled on the pillow.
Yeah, now they're not properly freaked out by this. They're just like, man, what is going on here, huh? I mean, if I find a bloody axe,
this is messed up. It's like somebody's been killed. Let's leave the murder weapon here.
Oh man, let's go back to the cabin and take a nap and make a cup of coffee.
So you want to pick up a strip Monopoly?
Yeah, it was just getting good. No, just me. All right.
I mean, look, I'll just go ahead and get naked here.
I'm giving you a head start here. I'll go ahead and get halfway naked. You got the upper hand. So, anyways, they start looking around and they're not finding anybody. Marcy and Jack and Ned or anybody that they're looking for. So then, of course, they break into the office to get to the phones, and of course, the phone lines are cut. So they walk out of there, and the car won't start. So it's all the the things you would think, are lining perfectly up here, like nothing's working correctly. So then Steve and the cop, they cut back to them. They're still coming. They're on the way to the camp, and then the cop gets a fatal accident call over the radio. So he just lets Steve out in the middle of the road. Once again, they're really bad about that in this territory. Apparently, just leaving people to their own devices in the middle of nowhere.
I forget how far away he was. Oh, no, I guess he wasn't too far.
Yeah, I think he was pretty. Yeah, no, not 10 miles down the road where he left the old hippie girl. Apparently, he wasn't too far away. So, like, he lets him out there, and then he just hikes back to camp. And as he's getting close to the camp, he gets to right where the Camp Crystal Lake sign is. You see someone with a flashlight kind of pointing at him, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing out here? Oh, it's you. What are you doing out here this late at night in the middle of all this?" And you would assume stabs him in the gut the way he kind of pulls back. So then back at the camp, someone shuts off the generator. So then Bill has to go check on it while Alice is taking a nap. Then she wakes up, and then like she yelled, like right at that moment, like she yells, "Bill!" It's kind of a jump scare, right? There's no music. Bill's out doing something, but she wakes up and Bill! But then she still doesn't do anything. She just kind of like lazily gets up, goes into the kitchen and makes coffee. Now, like, you watch this whole process. You watch her pour water in the thing, put it on the stove, start the gas up, go and put the instant coffee in the cups, go over to the cupboard, get the sugar out. I mean, it's the whole process.
They had to block this whole thing off for that.
Yeah.
All right, now.
And then, after all that, she then, like, you know what, I think I'm going to go look for Bill. So she goes out to the generator, and, well, I don't see him anywhere. And then the door swings shut, and then Bill is stuck to the door with, like, 3 or 4 arrows stuck onto the door, and his throat slit. So Bill is dead. So this is really, like, when the shit starts going down, because now you realize, now that, obviously we as the audience know the shit's been going down, but now she knows shit has gone down, so now it's mass chaos from here on out.
I think that's the only part of the movie that actually startled me.
What, Bill hanging on the door?
Yeah.
It is pretty good effects on that too.
Oh yeah.
By the way, I think we mentioned earlier that was Harry Crosby playing Bill. It wasn't until a little bit later on that I realized that like he's like the son or grandson or something of Bing Crosby.
Son.
Oh, son, okay, yeah. I knew there was a relation.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but I don't think we mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I think he, according to what I read, was he actually didn't try to push that in trying out for the role. Like, he wanted to get it on his own merit.
Yeah, I'm sure it didn't hurt. Oh, you're Bing Crosby's kid, huh? Well, we've got just the role for you, buddy.
Well, I don't think they found out until he was already cast.
Yeah, until they had already killed him.
Oh, damn it.
Shit. We should have kept him alive.
We could have had that 1980s music montage with Bing Crosby.
Yeah. So of course Alice then freaks the fuck out because she just found Bill dead on the door. So she runs back to the cabin and like barricades herself. Once again, this is another long process. You watch her like tie the rope.
Yes, they took their time with that.
You watch her tie the rope around there real nice and tight, and then she goes over and gets each piece of furniture. Then she thinks about things for a little bit, and then she wanders into the kitchen, and then all of a sudden Brenda's body.
Why is she barricading a door that's an outward swinging door?
Well, I mean, the rope made sense, but none of the rest. Right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what? It was an outward swinging door. What was all that furniture going to do?
All that time, just before he
up?
just comes out, click.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chairs fall out.
I'll go a step farther. I mean, granted, they're camp counselors, but I've never seen anybody do a door like that in my life.
Well, maybe she knows a little bit extra about tying knots and stuff from being a counselor,
Maybe
right?
that's what she did back in California.
Yeah. That's why she needed to get back to California real quick because of her rope tying course that she forgot to finish up.
And her girlfriend.
Yeah. Which is why she's clearly not into Steve. We all bring it back to that. So then, like, as she's pondering life and what is going on here, she's standing in the kitchen. Someone hooks Brenda's body straight through the window. She lands in a heap down. Now, if you really pay attention to her laying on the ground here, I got 2 things to point out. Number 1, you can clearly see her breathing when she gets chunked through the window.
I noticed that.
Yeah. Secondly, a little bit later on, she goes back in there and you see Brenda's body laying there. Her head is turned to the other side. So continuity was not on their side here this day.
Maybe she wasn't completely dead yet.
Yeah. Which makes it even sadder that she didn't try to help her out. So then, right at this moment, a Jeep arrives outside. So Alice goes through all the painstaking process of moving all the shit and the rope from the front door that she put there. and goes outside, and it's a middle-aged lady who introduces herself as Mrs. Voorhees. She's an old friend of the Christies, and she's here to help.
Now, at this point, every other person that she's seen, just like, hey, I see. But this time, oh, God, thank you. Hey, who are you? Oh, well, here's my name, address, social security number. I live down the street. I had a son named Jason.
It's his birthday today.
Jason, you say? By the way, Jason was my son.
Tell her about me, Mommy.
So then she takes Mrs. Voorhees inside the cabin, like, look, here's a dead body. She's, oh, God, this is horrible, because here's what's happened at this cabin, and I'm going to tell you the whole history of what's happened here at this camp. My son was here, you see, and I used to be a cook here, and he drowned. Jason was my son, and today is his birthday. And then, of course, that's when you realize she's off her fucking meds, and she attacks Alice, and Alice manages to grab, like, a fire poker and puts her down, but then runs.
Then, always the problem there. He's like,
yeah, you don't
ample opportunity to take her out.
You don't finish the job.
This lady has clearly killed many people so far.
Yeah.
I better get out of here.
So
she bought myself a little bit more time. At least.
She runs outside to get in the Jeep. Good idea. She sees Annie's body, screams, and runs away. The Jeep still operates, but yet she, like, fuck this, and then scoots it on out of there because there's a dead body in there.
Like Tiana was saying as we were watching too, Voorhees was riding around this whole, however many, along with Annie's body. Just
for hours. Yeah,
riding shotgun or whatever.
Well, she needed the carpool lane.
Well, she's got a teen massacre to attend. She's got no time to dispose of bodies. All right.
Right. But she could have just left it in the woods, She's got to use it later for a prop, It's like mother, like son. Jason, he gets that from his mom, I guess.
Nope. It's safer right there in the front seat.
For people to discover.
So then, of course, she runs away from the Jeep. She's running along, and then Steve's body falls from the trees. So what does she do? Run the opposite direction. And then Mrs. Voorhees comes out, and this is when she's, kill her, Mommy! Kill her!
That might have been some amazing acting in 1980. But it really cracked me up a few times.
Well, I mean, how can we make this lady truly fucking nuts? Well, let's have her mimic her dead son. I mean, otherwise she's just a cardigan sweater wearing old lady, right? So I mean, you got to make her nuts.
Yep. Right.
Let's see. What are the multiple ways we can make her seem crazy? Oh, let's just have her narrate it.
Yeah. Kill her. Kill her, Mommy. So then, what is a killer to do in this moment? You go and turn the generator on. I don't get that move from old Voorhees. She turns the lights on. So then Alice is in like this. I guess it's like I don't know what kind of damn shed this is, but they've got a line of shotguns in there. But she can't find any ammo, and during this is when she cuts the lights on. So then I guess she doesn't think to hide or anything. Voorhees finds her in there, and then she comes in and just bitch slaps Alice like 4 times.
About 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, she's pimp slapping her, man. Like pow, pow.
Teach you to run the fuck away from me.
Yeah, and like she's got the gun, but she doesn't think at first to swing the gun at her. She just kind of pushes it at her, and then she's just like swatting shit away. Like she's throwing stuff at her, and she's just swatting it. Right? Like, what are you doing, little girl? Just swatting it away. Then she picks during the melee, they're rolling around. She manages to pick the shotgun back up and then gun butts her right in the sniz. And then knocks her out. She doesn't finish the job, though. She just runs away.
Again, the 3rd time, I think.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th time. She's just like, she's down, but fuck this, I want her to keep chasing me, apparently. So now this is
California. We don't believe in corporal punishment.
So now she goes back to the cabin with Brenda's body, the original cabin, and this is where I point out that her head is the opposite way than what it was earlier, and she hides in the...
Turn her head, Mommy!
Turn her head to the right, Mommy! Continuity errors, Mommy! So she goes and hides in the pantry, and then Voorhees comes and like breaks in, like I guess I think it's a machete she's got, right? She like pokes a hole in and does like the Jack Nicholson from The Shining, kind of like looking Although, which came
Which
first?
came out the same year.
Yeah. Which came first, right? I guess that's the question, the chicken or the egg. But she kind of looks in and then, like, reaches in and unlocks the door. And then, meanwhile, Alice picks up, like, a fucking iron skillet. And then, like, as soon as they kind of fight, she just brains her right across the head with this skillet. And then, like, she actually rolls her over a little bit and, like, blood's trickling out of the back of her head. So I guess she,
Here's the number 4th or 5th time that she.
Yeah, she's just like, well, that should be enough. She's bleeding, so this has got to be the end of it, right? I'm just gonna walk now. See ya. She doesn't run though. She just leisurely walks away and makes her way down to Crystal Lake to take a ponder and look at her reflection in the water. And then, of course, Voorhees comes up from behind and attacks. And now this is the real fight, right? Like, they're rolling around, they're beating the shit out of each other, like grabbing her head and pounding it on the ground and stuff. But Mrs. Voorhees drops the machete in the melee, and then Alice picks it up, and then the slow-mo, as she's coming at her, like, no! And then swings the machete and lops her head right off. Once again, a good effect
and
from
then there's
Savini.
your final couple of more seconds of those uncut version of the neck stump spurting thing.
Yeah, with her hands, like,
that was trimmed out.
Her hands, like, grasping in the air, like, where's my head?
Yeah.
So then, like, what do you do after this horrible night and everything? You get in a canoe, and you just float away and take a nap till the morning. She wakes. She's floating in the middle of the lake. She wakes just in time. You see the cops arrive, and they're playing this really dramatic end of movie.
Ending credit movie.
Yeah, music. As this is going on, say, well, I guess it all turned out. Alice is all right, and here are the cops. So everything's good. And all of a sudden, demented mongoloid boy jumps out of the water and grabs a hold of her in the canoe and takes her down. Which I would have to say, like I said, I remember watching this younger. I remember that did scare the shit out of me. If I recall, oh shit, what is that? And then I remember me and my brother rewinding, pause, slow mo, so we can get a good look at Jason. Like, frame by frame. Like, oh man, he's fucked up looking. She wakes up.
Turns out everything was a dream.
Yeah, she wakes up. She's in the hospital. They just pour it all on her right there and say, yeah, everyone you were out there with is dead. But, of course, her only concern is, what about the boy? What do you mean, ma'am? We didn't find any boy. Then
the boy that drugged me under the water and killed me.
Oh, well, we didn't find any boy. Then she says, then he's still there. And then she just turns her head slowly toward the camera, slow dissolve into the, Crystal Lake. They play, you hear the music again, then the credits at the end. The music at the end, too, like, it definitely sounded like you're just waiting for Eric Clapton to start singing it. It sounded like the end of Layla or something. It's a straight rip for sure. So
cocaine. Oh no, not
cocaine. No, not that one.
Oh, not that one.
So there you go. That is the original Friday the 13th. So you can see why we chose this to let our wives watch this with us for Mother's Day. So that's the whole gag, right? It's Mother's Day spectacular. All right. So what we normally do here at the end of the show is we give our star rating. So 0 to 5. 0 being like, good Lord, this was a piece of shit. Why did you make me watch this? All the way up to 5 being like, one of the greatest movies you've ever watched. As usual, we'll go ladies first. So, Aaron, what is your star rating for this beauty?
I'm gonna go with 4.
Wow.
I actually loved the fact that I got to watch a horror movie and not be too afraid to get up and pee in the middle of the night.
But that's just because you pissed yourself during the movie, so.
I like the fact that it wasn't too gory. I don't really like violent movies. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely chuckled throughout the whole movie. I know that wasn't the purpose, and I have no doubt that if I had watched it 20 years ago, I wouldn't have chuckled. I would have had the shit scared out of me. But as a grown woman, I could laugh. Yeah, I liked it more than I thought I would.
Well, I'm glad we could make you laugh. Tiana, where are you at with this one? 0 to 5.
A 3.
3, okay.
Yeah, a 3 only because 1 year later, a movie called The Burning came out, which was similar, but I love that one a lot more than this one.
Mm-hmm. Well, fair enough. And like we've discussed on here before, sometimes it's relative to other things you've seen. Like, well, I like this one a little bit more than that, so I'm going to knock this down a peg. So
Yeah.
we definitely score that way sometimes. Stacy?
I say a 3 as well
Any-
because, as you know, I don't like horror movies as well, and I kind of had the same reaction as Aaron did. Like, I kind of laughed more than I thought I would. I really don't like the jump scare things, and there was only that one, where the door, the body was on the back of the door that I was really like startled by. I don't know. I just
and
it
not
wasn't
by,
horrible. It wasn't great,
And not by Crazy Ralph hanging out in the pantry. That didn't get you as much as it did Aaron, apparently.
No.
I just couldn't get over how polite everyone was.
Yeah, I gotta
Please
say,
don't
if like some
murder
dude
me.
jumped out of the pantry, I would have probably peed myself.
He didn't jump out, though. He's just standing there.
He just, that's probably
just-
even
We're all
creepier,
gonna
though.
die.
Kind.
That's probably even creepier, though.
Do you know how much sodium is in this oatmeal?
God almighty!
Oh, by the way, you're doomed.
They're all going to laugh at you.
You can eat this lard.
Alright, maybe I should give it a 3 too. I feel like I was too kind with my
No,
scoring.
no, you can't. We don't reflect on other scores and then adjust. So we do that at the end of the year. All right, so Will, what do you think? Where are you at with it?
Well, by reflecting on everybody else's score,
Nope.
No, I'll give this one a 4. I mean, it brought in, like one of the killer that all of us love to watch. Like, even though he wasn't technically really in this movie, like it started a franchise that everybody loves to watch. Like this is a fun movie to watch with people. So yeah, I think I would stick with a 4.
Smoke?
Yeah, I got like I said before we started this, I guess I had a lot of personal history with this one going back a number of years. So I also give it a 4.
I'm the same way.
one of those-
I'll make it a clean sweep between the three of us at least. I'll give it a 4. This is one of those starters for a franchise and everything, and I mean this is where it began. So even though you could make a case like I don't think, in my opinion, it really got going until like the third movie, but the seeds are sown and the legend began here. Smoke, what is the where did you land on the gore score on this one?
Well, I sort of take into account both the R-rated and the uncut version, and even though there's only 11 seconds difference, really, give or take, between the two, all of those 11 seconds were for the violent scenes. So I think with the R-rated version, I'd probably say it's maybe falling around like a 5 or so. I mean, it's not overly gory. There's a lot of good set pieces there, especially the arrow through the neck thing, and then you had the throat slash, the decapitation. And I think with the unrated version, I'd probably bump it up to 6.
That's probably about right, because the scale is 0 to 10, right?
0 to 10, yeah.
Yeah. So if we gave Monster Squad a 2, I believe we're gonna have to bump this one up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say, because you think about it, it's not, definitely not overly gory, but it's got those, it's got the blood, the arrow through the neck, you got the blood spurt, and then the decapitation was pretty, and I kind of also go by.
That's a little
at the
gory.
time it came out. Yeah. You usually don't see it quite that detail. If you see it, you see the head lopped off or whatever. You don't see too much of the after effect of the headless body, grasping around and blood spurt and all that stuff. I think they upped it a little bit, which is the reason why the MPAA said, nope, you can't, got to trim that shit.
Yeah. You can only see it happen
In retrospect,
very briefly.
today, all of that stuff would be in the R-rated version today, I would think. It just kind of shows you how times change.
Oh, yeah. Not only would it all be in there, but it'd be much
be more.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so, Will, you got the kill count. What count did you come up with in this one?
Looks like there was 10 people killed in this movie.
It's probably about right. I mean, if you're talking about the 2 counselors at the beginning, I wonder if does that add Jason into that or not? Well, I guess technically no, since he's still technically alive at the end of it, right? So I guess that wouldn't be counted.
Yeah.
So,
I believe Smoker brought up this is an anniversary.
Oh, yes. Yeah. 40th
Yes,
anniversary.
it is.
The day that we're recording it right now, and it's not the day that y'all are going to be listening to it when we get it put out there, but the day that we're recording it is the 40th anniversary of the theatrical release of Friday the 13th.
May 9th, 1980 was when this was released, so it's 40 years ago to the day of this recording.
We'd love to say that we are master planners and that we knew that Mother's Day and this day lined up perfectly, but that is just dumb luck.
It's an incredible coincidence, but we'll take it. Just like I mentioned to Smoke earlier when he pointed it out, the very first episode we did was Reanimator, and the day we released that was the 33rd anniversary of the day that movie came out. I guess 30 episodes later, our luck is still going, so we have the coincidence streak going. So yeah, I guess for everybody here, that's it for this edition of the Spook Show. I mean, I'd like to thank personally my wife, Stacy, and Will's wife, Erin, and the professor's wife, Tiana, for coming on and having a little bit of a laugh with us today, and it's cool to have everybody on, and I'd like to wish all of you ladies happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks.
And
Thanks for having us, fellas.
and we'll make sure to see y'all, and we'll make sure y'all come on the next episode too when we talk about whatever it is we're going to be talking about. We haven't planned anything out yet, so maybe one of these days we can have all you guys back on, and we'll try to make sure we find something a little more gory than this one. Does that sound fair?
Oh, yay.
Yeah. Find something.
It's too bad you guys already did Sleepaway Camp.
Oh yeah.
That'd be a fun one for you guys to show your wives.
It wouldn't necessarily fit Mother's Day, but that would have been hellaciously funny for sure.
I would love to see their faces.
Yeah, if we ever go back and revisit, we'll go back and revisit that one with everybody one day, and we'll have to make sure that's a video show so you can actually see. Maybe we can do a reaction video kind of thing to that. Like, all right, we're gonna make you sit down and watch this, and I'm gonna film your reaction at the grand reveal.
I remember watching that as a kid. I don't
Good
remember
Lord.
much about it. But
Yeah,
I
apparently
do
not.
believe I saw my first penis.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you do remember.
In that movie.
Wow. Jesus. What a way to pop that moment, right?
And that's why my wife doesn't like horror movies.
Yeah. Well, I can see.
I loved them as a kid. I didn't become a wuss until I got old.
God.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
I didn't stop watching them until Blair Witch Project, so that scared the poo-Jesus out of me, so no more after that.
I loved that movie. I guess,
Blair Witch Project?
Yes, I think I became a wuss in my 30s.
Well.
But yeah, I remember I was really young when I saw Sleepaway Camp.
That's
I
disturbing.
remember looking at my friend. I was spending the night at her house, like, is that what I think that is? So then we had to pause it and rewind it.
My brother and I used to, we'd want, my parents would take us to Blockbuster or the video store or whatever, and they'd let us pick out movies. And we wanted to watch a horror movie, so, and this is clearly back in the day when you just base it on the cover of the movie. Just, oh, this looks cool. I'm going to go with this. For whatever reason, we thought the cover of Rocky Horror Picture Show looked pretty cool. Thinking that, like, oh man, this is going to be scary as shit. No.
Oh God, now I got questions.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, when I was in college, I can't remember the movie titles now, but I thought I was renting the movie where Sandra Bullock had to go to rehab.
Oh,
28
days.
Yes, and instead I rented the zombie movie.
28 days later.
28.
I was sitting there like...
The sequel, actually, as it turns out. No.
What?
No.
This isn't Sandra Bullock.
Which we actually just discussed back in episode 27. So if you want to go back in the archives and listen to 28 Days Later, there you go. On the next episode, we're going to watch 28 Days, the true horror film.
Such a good...
Talk about a Sandra Bullock rom-com. That'll scare...
I was down with the All-American Spook Show until episode 30.
Yeah. Boy, they really took a turn in episode 31. Boy, they jumped the shark. All right, so thank all y'all for coming on. It was a lot of fun having some special guests on tonight. Like I said, we haven't really decided what we're going to watch in the next episode, so Just make sure to tune in for episode 31 whenever that drops here in the next week or two. For Will and the Professor Smoke, I'm Josh. We are the All-American Spook Show Podcast. See you later.
Kill her, bye, mommy.
Kill her, mommy!